Welcome to. Oh, hold on. Good evening, gentlemen. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Good
Good
evening.
evening, good evening.
Welcome to Make We Talk here, a Sunday edition of Make We Talk. With me this evening, we're gonna have Mr. Donovan Reynolds, who is the hold on for me, please. He is the communication director of the Westmoreland Ganja Association. We're also gonna have Mr. Steve Hessel, businessman, a taxi driver, or a former taxi driver. We have with us, I can see him come on, always dressed the way he wants to dress. SSP Radcliffe Lewis. We're supposed to have the chairman of the St. Thomas Crime Prevention Unit, Mr. Marcel Clarke, or Clarke. He's gonna come on with us. This evening, we're gonna discuss the issue of ganja, growing ganja in Jamaica. What can it do for the development of Jamaica? And also, why is it that the government don't want to give the farmers some lands? Same way they can give lands to the Chinese to build roads. Why is it that they can't give us some lands in Jamaica? So we're going to discuss this evening. We have the chairman, the communication director rather, of the Westmoreland Ganja Association, Mr. Donovan Reynolds. Mr. Reynolds.
Yeah, how are you? Yeah, welcome. Yeah.
Go ahead, sir. The floor is yours.
So one of the issues, as you know, I represent an organization called the Westmoreland Hemp and Ganja Association, and we represent 350 small farmers. I say small in inverted comma because they're larger farmers in the Orange Hill area. And we've been having difficulty. We were selected as part of a pilot project to make the transition from illegal recreational ganja planting into planting medical marijuana, which is a very expensive thing and takes up a lot of resources. Maroon Town was also one of those selected for the project. But the project, from an Orange Hill point of view, has not gone off. It's been bedeviled by a lot of things. You know, it's been a long while since we have been waiting for government to assist the small farmers with land so that we'll be able to cultivate and land training, so that the ADP program can come into fruition. And had a lapse because there was much, we couldn't have meetings together, but people are really frustrated to the back teeth now. And believe that when you look around the Caribbean, the experience around the Caribbean, because we had a forum the other day where we discussed it, and there was a professor who came from St. Vincent, via Canada, and he was saying that he was very surprised that Jamaica inspired the sort of decriminalization of ganja and the getting into medical marijuana in the Eastern Caribbean. And he was surprised to come down here to see that we can't even put together a pound of ganja in a place where ganja has got cultural relevance. And let me say this, we at the Westmoreland Hemp and Ganja Association believe in the safe use of ganja for adults, and that there are two aspects of cannabis, i.e. ganja. There is the recreational use, and there is also the medical marijuana, which is very expensive for small farmers to get through. When they decriminalized, the hope was that smaller farmers who had suffered in the industry, suffered penalization through going to prison, would get an opportunity to sort of rehabilitate themselves within the industry, to have their criminal record expunged and to ease into the industry, you know, seamlessly.
Yes.
Now, I want to make this clear to all your listeners that to get into the medical marijuana industry is a very big industry, nearly a 1 trillion worldwide industry. It takes, and this is a conservative estimate, about 800 to $1 million Jamaican dollars just to start a little square of medical marijuana. So you will recognize that most small farmers are working for bigger dealers who exploit them anyway. And the idea was, because people think that because you're planting ganja, you have got money. No, that's not the way. Women get exploited. Workers get exploited. They've got their own problems, cultural problems, social-cultural problems in the industry. And they are the ones who are still being exploited, since ganja was decriminalized. And so today we're going to talk about decriminalization, and we're going to explore also legalization and decriminalization are nuanced definition that we might go into later on, you permitting, Mr. Moderator.
Yes,
so,
I will permit you. Before you go into that though, Mr. Reynolds, what I need to find out from you though, when we were speaking earlier on during the week or the course of last week, you said to me that you're having a problem with the government of Jamaica giving you the ability
for these farmers to sort of
start. Right. So what is the problem that they're facing now? Is it that the government is saying to them that they can't give them the land to do it?
So from what I've heard, and it's not been very formal, it's just through word of mouth, through the CLA. The CLA was very involved in terms of spearheading this pilot project. And we were trying to get lands to be able to do it. What they're saying was the last piece of land at Namprel Road, that there was an encumbrance on it. That means that money owed on it by the World Bank, and it could not be used. And they would try to find other suitable available lands. Then it came down to, we had to find, at Westmoreland Ganja, find lands, which is difficult. So the chairman spoke to you last week and he told you that there are a lot of lands here, intergenerational land that have been passed on from generation to generation. And most of it, some of it is contested, and some of it people have died intestate without a will. And what CLA need from a regulatory framework point of view is lands with a title, clean title on it. So either by way of us raising the money to lease the land, or the government come in and help us with land, either way, you understand me, would have assisted us. But none of the above has happened. One of the bugbear also, because it becomes more complicated, is that under the current international medical marijuana regime, there are people have not been able to sort of open bank accounts. Once you mention ganja to them, they shy away because the international banking arena is, due to the money laundering act and all sorts of things associated with it, mostly US related, people are scared to open bank accounts because they might get penalized from New York.
So what you're saying to me, and I'm going to go to SSP Radcliffe Lewis. I wouldn't mind if he sit down and, because we're live on a TV station, Mr. Lewis. So we're going to go to him next to ask him some questions. What is his views, being a former SSP of the Jamaica Constabulary Force? But what I want to find out from you, Mr. Reynolds, is it that the government of Jamaica refused to give the members of the Ganja Association of Westmoreland and all over Jamaica lands, crown lands that is owned by the people of this country? Because if they can swap lands to the Chinese to build roads, why they can't give them some land? Because same way California can legalize ganja and California can pay off their debt with the proceeds of ganja, why is it that we can't do something like this in Jamaica, Mr. Reynolds?
So, okay, I'm glad you start from that. So since medical marijuana and recreational marijuana have been sort of, you know, been accepted in the United States, you know that there are varying levels of legalization taking place in America. 15 states have given the go-ahead for people to plant medical marijuana, and another 15 have got some level of easing of recreational use. Now, the sum total of that for the US economy, because we're not keeping good statistical tally here, the sum total of that is 3.7 billion US dollars in taxes that have gone into the coffers of the United States. So when we think of Jamaica and a small economy and having the sort of best ganja product, whatever you might think in the southern hemisphere, we think we are missing out on about 100 billion Jamaican dollars that could be collected in tax. Yeah. So from an economic point of view, we are missing out big time. From a developmental point of view, also, we are missing out. And that is why...
Mr. Reynolds, hold on a minute, Mr. Reynolds. I am losing you there.
We're calling for an economic reason. So what we're saying is that by not...
I was losing you there a while ago. Can you repeat? You're saying that you're calling...
So from an economic point of view, we believe at WACFA that we are missing out on $100 billion of taxes per year because we failed to sort of regulate the marijuana industry, both from a recreational point of view and from a medical marijuana point of view, bringing more people into the industry so that the country would have benefit. When you look at countries like Colorado, they paid off a massive amount of their debts due to the amount of money that has come in, revenue that has come into government coffers from the sales, from taxing both recreational and medical marijuana. So, this is a model for us to look up to.
Okay, Mr. Hessel, Mr. Steve Hessel, can you unmute your mic for me, sir? The question I want to ask now, Mr. Hessel, you as a Jamaican and a businessman in this country, what do you think the government should do? Should they fully legalize ganja, wherein the small people in this country can get a license? What do you think about the license costing Jamaicans over 500,000 Jamaican dollars? Nearly $1 million for a license. What is your views on it, sir?
Yeah, good evening to everybody. Jeff, my views on it that the government don't want to give a small man a chance to start make some money. If America have a 50 states,
yes,
and if most of the states in America can come out and say, okay, we're going to give everybody a chance to make money. We want X amount of tax to run the country. While we as this country where thousands of people in Jamaica go to prison because same ganja. I remember me have a granduncle in St. James, a place named Ketadupa in St. James. And me used to plant ganja up in the mountain. And I recall one time about 200 police come for about 3 of them, rope them up, carry them go down a Cambridge station, abuse them. And I'm saying, why government cannot sit down, call all of these guys? We know we have some rich man who want to take over a pie. So rich man, them alone want to eat a cake. So them try to force a small man them out of it. Because when them going to say one license for 500,000, mean after you get a license, you have to go buy seed, you have to get land, you have to get fertilizer, everything. So when a small man look on it and say, you have to come up with like $5 million to start it. That is really hard for a small man. A rich man can fly down from US and say, sure, $5 million chicken feed. But we're supposed to sit down and think about a small man in the country. Can the small man achieve it? And can the government achieve something out of it? We have so many schools what short of this and so many things. I believe if we plant ganja in Jamaica, we can treat the school better. The road, we can fix more road. A lot of things in Jamaica can benefit from it. So I believe the government have to sit down and think about it very hard, very serious, and look what is beneficial out of it for the country's sake.
Thank you, Mr. Hessel. Former SSP Radcliffe Lewis, unmute your mic for me, Mr. Lewis, that I can we can have a discussion pertaining to this, sir. You was a former SSP of the Jamaica Constabulary Force. Hold on for me, Mr. Lewis. As the Jamaica Constabulary Force, what is your views on it? Don't give me your views as a policeman, no, you know, as a Jamaican.
No, well, the fact that I spent 40, you're hearing me quite clearly?
Loud and clear from Negril Point to Moran Point, where the rebellion start.
Okay, sir. The fact that I spent 40 years into it, policing must come into it.
Well, go ahead then.
Yes. And the government have to be conscious of what they are getting into. Because as you know, I heard Mr. Hessel and I heard the president of the association in Westmoreland saying that Colorado and another state, I don't know if it's the Carolinas, where ganja.
California.
And want to tell them that the regulation there is very, very rigid. And our government here now will have to be conscious of a number of things. And as a result, which I support too, is that the regulation will have to be stiff. What I want to find out from the president of the Westmoreland.
Hold on, Mr. Lewis. What do you mean the regulation have to be stiff? I don't understand what you mean by that.
Let me tell you now, sir. To remember now, you know, we are living here, and to prevent illegal importation of ganja to probably the US, Canada, and Europe, they have. But
Mr. Lewis, if it is legalized, it won't be illegal importation of ganja to the US.
It can be legalized here, yes, but persons will illegally import it, and that is why people are somewhat hesitate to go into the business, because they know exactly what can happen. What I want to find out from the president now, I heard you saying that government saying this and government saying that. Have you put a proposal to the government, and the proposal is to be so extensive and that you outline every aspect as to how your organization is going to make this ganja operation secure.
But Mr. Lewis, if I may butt in here before the chairman of the communication director rather comes in. If I may butt in here, what I get to understand, and from a long time ago, even before I speak to Mr. Reynolds, that the small man who is trying to grow ganja having a problem. Back in the days, you know, is a small man in Negril, in Monterey, in Orange Hill, in Little Bay and all those places. They're the one who start the ganja industry in this country, you know. And the government didn't have anything to do with it. What the government did was to allow other countries to come in and burn on the ganja. Now, when other countries that used to burn down the ganja in Jamaica decide to legalize ganja in their country, we are pussyfooting around in this country because money can be made from it. And they're saying to the small men and small women that we won't give you the license. You know, that's what they're saying. You know? If it's going to cost $500,000 for a license to plant marijuana in the land of wood and water, then something is fundamentally wrong. And what I am saying is this. The Westmoreland Ganja Growers Association want lands to plant the ganja, but yet the government refused to give them the lands. Mr. Reynolds, answer the question that Mr.
Okay,
Lewis
Mr. Lewis,
asked.
good question, both of you. Good. Let me just clear up something before I answer the question. So when I say 500,000 can just grow about a quarter acre of ganja, it does not include the license, because the license vary from an interim license of 300 US upwards to 5,000 US. And that is for that reason why people are able to come from abroad, you know, and open up medical marijuana business. There are different types of license. For example, there are growers license, export license, license to transport, license to open up similar to coffee shops type of, you know, so that tourists can come and buy guns. So there are various licenses, but the bottom line is that it is too much money for a sort of small farmer. So the government program, I think in South America, the ADP program was done in South America. It's model of South America, where you transition small farmers who were involved in cocoa production into coffee or legal agricultural business. In Jamaica, the idea was to transition farmer from planting recreational ganja into medical marijuana. Now, this takes a lot of training and a lot of input from different agencies to come to get involved. It needs lands for them. And also, one of the things is that we were asking, you know, because we represent 350 of these farmers, are you going to give them a grant? So, for example, in St. Vincent, the government gave them land and the government gave the farmers a grant. In the ADP program, I think the ABTP program, the budget was for 180 million, and not a single cent was in it for grant for small farmers who were all eaten up into paying experts and paying people salaries. So I believe that the government, and I've got no bias about the government, you know, I support the government, you understand me? I've got to knock them when they're wrong.
Yes.
They have no interest in sort of promoting a social safety net for the small farmers who are being exploited in the industry, especially women. Of all the growers, I think from what I hear, there's only one woman who's got a license for farming cannabis. When you look on the ground with people in Orangeville, these people are earning below the minimum wage on a daily basis. They have to work under unsanitary conditions. They are not regulated, you understand me? And they sort of face risk. You understand me? The plant, you know, if they're growing recreational cannabis, who knows the standard there? You understand me? You know, from a public health, our point of view from WACFA is that we want to pursue a public health model and not a justice model. And we also come from the position of defending our farmers that ganja is a human rights issue, and not a justice issue. And also that we believe in the responsible use of medical marijuana. You know, they call it harm reduction in the UK. I worked for many years in harm reduction, where people are to, you know, get public education into administering the use of drugs and to make sure that the ganja, it be recreational or medical marijuana, is grown at a standard where it is healthy, you understand me, on one hand, but in harmony with the environment. You know, so that's our position. I don't know if that answers your question, SSP, former SSP.
Let me just say something.
Hold on for me, SSP Lewis, hold on. We're really listening and watching from around the world in the Eastern Caribbean. We're coming to you live on YouTube and on Facebook. Our topic, should Jamaica fully legalize marijuana? And what is the benefit in legalizing of marijuana in Jamaica? If you want to take part in this discussion, you can call WhatsApp call only. That's WhatsApp call only. 876-782-8235. That's 876-782-8235. I'm speaking to Mr. Donovan Reynolds, Communication Director of the Westmoreland Ganja Growers Association.
That's Donovan, please.
Donovan rather, sorry, Donovan Reynolds. Former SSP Radcliffe Lewis. Chairman of the St. Thomas Crime Prevention Unit, Mr. Clarke, and Mr. Steve Hessel, businessman, a well-outspoken Jamaican. I have with me now, before I go to Sir Radcliffe, I have with me the chairman of the St. Thomas Crime Prevention Unit, Mr. Clarke. Unmute your mic for me, sir. What is your views on the whole ganja in Jamaica, legalizing ganja in Jamaica? Mr. Clarke? Okay, Mr. Clarke, what is the views on it, sir? Mr. Clarke, unmute your mic for me, please. Mr. Clarke, are you hearing me, sir?
Perhaps I could jump in and share
ahead,
some.
go ahead,
Let me just jump in and say something.
Yeah.
Mr. Reynolds,
Okay.
I understand this issue quite well, but I just want you to understand, and everybody, that the legalization of ganja in Jamaica is something that is going to affect the global community.
Sure.
And you have to realize that, as I told you before, that that the government will have to be very careful as to how the government go about granting legalization for ganja whole scale.
Okay.
And you know that our we depend a lot on some countries, to include US, Canada, and the UK for the economic survival of our country and other countries over the world. And as I say, if they are not careful, then our economic activities as it relates to them can be affected.
In what way, Mr. Lewis? Because hold on, Mr. Lewis.
Let me just finish, and just the last part, just the last part here, can be affected
accordingly.
And as a result, again, I kind of miss out now. They have to be very careful of they grant this license, because it can be used. We understand Jamaican, we know how we stay, It can be used as a means of doing illegal exportation too.
So Mr. Lewis, hold on a minute
sir.
now. You are saying to me, in other words, yes, they have to be careful. But if the big man in this country who are getting the license left, right, and center to start plant ganja in Jamaica, what's the difference between the big man and the little man?
The difference between the big man and the little man. Listen. In Orange Hill, I know Orange Hill quite well,
Answer the question, Sir Lewis.
Yes. The difference is that the big man, they have the money, and the little man have no money.
Okay.
And it needs money to
No.
activate.
You said to me, hold on, Mr. Lewis. You said to me a while ago that we have to be careful of the grant license because of whatever importation or whatever. So you're saying to me, is the little man gonna do all the bandolo business, the big man not gonna do it?
We not say big man not gonna do it, But what I'm saying, it is more likely. It is more likely for the small man to do the bandolo business than the big man. I'm not saying that they are not involved in bandolo.
Mr. Lewis, you're chatting damn nonsense on my ears now.
But you're saying this.
Hold on, Mr. Lewis. I can tell you point blank, sir, with all due respect to you.
Yes.
There are some shady things going on in this country by the big men of this country. So don't tell me the small man gonna do anything and the big man not gonna do it. Don't do that.
All over the world. And all on the Sir Jeffrey, I heard you speaking about, and Mr. Reynolds speaking about small farmers. They usually, small farmers used to cultivate ganja illegally and some small plots of land and sell it to one big man. That is what I know, One big man who is the ganja exporter. and the big man in the ganja business.
Well, me not
They use
afraid to tell anybody this evening.
Why can it be the same way? Well, and then it is under more control.
Okay then. So can I respond?
Go ahead, Mr. Go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
So I'm gonna address 3 issues. You know, one of them that you bring up 3 issues that was discussed. A lot was discussed a while ago, and I'm going to bring clarity to it with my technical head. Okay then. So we are beholden to a lot of international treaties, and I think that's what SSP Lewis is alluding to. And if we breach those treaties, we can be sanctioned development aid in the global sphere, be it Canada, UK, and the US, is linked to us towing the lines, the international treaty lines. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
This is why during the discussion and the symposium that we had here, there are two sets of people who control the international scene, and it is heavily justice-based. One, 1961 International Convention on Narcotics, and it's governed by a board called the International Narcotic Board. None of those have got any representative from the Caribbean. The closest one that has got representative that we have is from Uruguay. The other close one voted the other day when the UN had a reform about ganja, you know, sort of medical marijuana, taking it out of Schedule 5, bringing it down the schedule, you know, making ganja, to decriminalize ganja. Whether you believe it or not, her close neighbor, Chile, voted against it. Against it. And it was close. I think the vote was 22-5 against 27. Just 2 people were saying that the UN should reform and be more, you know, with the proliferation of medical marijuana gaining more acceptance globally, and countries, small countries in the global south being able to sort of pay up their debts and earn money from taxation. You would think that people would be in favor of it. The vote was close. Yeah. The other thing is that I want to clarify this, on SSP Lewis, is for your clarification. We at legalization, there are 3 different approaches. Yeah. Legalization, total legalization. You have decriminalization. And what happened? The ganja, we believe in regulating the industry, decriminalization, where you've got to make sure that children, so say for example, people below the age of 18 years old would not be able to sort of participate in smoking ganja, where their brain, you know, research has shown, you understand me, that their brain have not developed sufficiently to use any form of drugging or using any form of substances. I've got to be careful with my choice of word. The actual sort of, you know, the other thing, finally, let me just say this, that when we were in the Caribbean, we're embarking on using the decriminalization of medical marijuana. In 2018, CARICOM produced a report. It was a good report. Not many good things come out of CARICOM, but this report was a good report. And what the report picked up, that medical marijuana, recreational marijuana use would create a problem, because Jamaica, the Caribbean, for example, Jamaica and the rest of the Caribbean have got cultural ties to the use of marijuana in its various form. And to privilege one over the other would create problems. You understand me? So these are some of the issues, the dilemma that we have to wrestle, and I'm opening them up. Although we have got our position, we recognize that the industry, the regulation has to be in a way that protects us from an harm minimization point of view, and there's got to be public education around recreational use of ganja. You understand? When somebody go into a shop to buy ganja for the first time, it's good for people to question them. You understand me? And say, are
Okay.
you sure that this is what you want to do? You understand me? Because your level of tolerance have not been sufficiently enough for you to come and want to use it. This is something that you want to do. And if you're going to do it, you've got to do it in a safe environment.
Yes. I have with me joining us now Uncle Horace, a very good friend of mine from the Twitter. He's a Jamaican businessman. I have with me also Sir Clarke. I don't know if Sir Clarke can hear me, but if he can you unmute your mic and tell me your views on the whole legalization of ganja in Jamaica, sir? Mr. Clarke? Uncle Horace, can you unmute your mic for me, please, and tell me what is your views on it, sir? What is your views? Do you think that we should legalize ganja and for medical purposes and also to alleviate some of the poverty that we're facing in this country?
Before I share my views, may I share a perspective or two on it before I share my views?
Go ahead.
Now, over the years, ganja was considered a contraband, and it was not without cause. We know that it has its benefits, but we know that it has its side effects. We also know that the plant is a particularly peculiar plant. Some 400 and odd various substances found in it, and it's not consistent from plant to plant. The reality about the various species is tricky, and it requires some scientific knowledge.
Yes.
It has been known to have caused should I say, I'm trying to choose this word carefully now,
Depression.
undesirable effects with some persons, certain persons, under certain conditions. So it's something that you need to approach with caution. Now, there are other substances out there that are, in my mind, very dangerous, and they are legal. So the question is, how do we go about legalizing this thing? My concern is how the legalization process was pursued, because I know for a fact that they had advice to the contrary from specialist psychologists and psychiatrists alike. There was an abundance of argument against it that were not heeded by those responsible in the legalization process.
Mr. Hessel. Can I respond? You understand?
Sure, go ahead, sir. Respond to it.
So I'm privy to some of those research, yeah? And I'll be very honest with you, because I wouldn't come on here, you understand me, even though I'm representing the, I'm an academic scholar as well. So there's a Jekyll and Hyde effect on the research around cannabis. Some of it shows that it creates depression, and others show that it treats depression. Yeah? But let us sort of look at it at a more holistic way. When you look at, there are more people dying from alcohol. There are more people dying from sugar. When you look at from a sort of chemical dependency, you understand me? It's more harmful LSD. To categorize ganja with LSD is a travesty of justice. You understand? Ganja is not killing anybody. It might. The research showed that if you are between, say, 16 to 24, you're more vulnerable to sort of mental health. But that is not to say that those mental health conditions were latent before. So say, for example, if you come from a family like me that have got mental health problems in it, you understand me? You might be more vulnerable, you understand me, to smoking cannabis. But part of the whole public education drive on harm minimization that I just alluded to a while ago, would it be okay that you know that you go into a place to buy recreational ganja? The two properties of ganja, there are two Jekyll and Hyde type of properties. of the 500 different chemicals that make up ganja, the THC and the CDB. CDB is shown to heal a plethora of things, you understand me, from your eye blinking straight to cancer, throat cancer. While THC is the sort of one that people are worried about, because THC can cause, this one is, you know, might affect your mental health. This is the part of it that gets you high. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
So the THC content in some of the marijuana being used now, the new type of skunk, go all the way up to 30%. Wouldn't it be safer to know that it's being regulated and it's just a 2% for the international? A lot of people, experts agree on that ganja, THC, for recreational use, shouldn't proceed over 2%. You understand me? In other words, we deal with ganja in the same way how we deal with safe sex, in the same way how we do alcohol. When you go into a pub in London or anywhere else, if the person drink 2 drinks and the bartender look at the person and see the person getting drunk, the bartender say, we are not serving you anymore. In most cafes, people can only come away with 5 grams of ganja. When you go to your dealer to buy from him, you come away with half a pound or 30% THC, as opposed to a gram or anywhere from a gram to 5 grams of 2%. Wouldn't that be better? And that's why regulation is better. You understand me? That's why we must educate ourselves about, because as you rightfully say, the legalization process, and I don't choose to use legalization, I prefer to use regulation. It's got to be regulated in a way that it's safe to the economy, safe to the people using it, and safe to the environment. They're gonna smoke it anyway, you understand me? But they must do it in a way where it's safe and people are educated and taught, you know, get sort of education, public education. When you have gone to Amsterdam and see, you can't just walk into, you can't even walk into a cafe, you understand me, with a drink. Only coffee they sell in the shops there where they sell cannabis, and you can only walk out with 5 grams.
So, Mr. Reynolds,
yeah.
What you're saying, that as what Uncle Horace just said on SSP Lewis has been alluding to all along.
Yeah, I agree with SSP Lewis to a certain extent. You understand me? That we need to regulate it carefully.
What we need to do before we jump and say legalize it fully, because there are some treaties that we have under the international
international treaty obligations,
right, that we have to abide with it, and we have to make sure that we abide by the laws. But what I am saying, we have to do that, yes, but the great United States, I am pretty much sure that when certain states decide to legalize marijuana, was there the treaty that they have to abide by? Am I asking a ridiculous question or what?
Good question, you understand? Because one of the problems with the United States and this is that they sponsor, they're the biggest sponsor of the UN budget. An intergovernmental organization that's responsible for the regulation of ganja. One of the biggest problems also is that the UN need to reform, to look at ganja and look at drugs from a public health perspective. The reason why they don't is because the prison industrial complex, you understand me, is a big business, and about 20% of the people in the prisons all over America and Europe are invariable sort of ethnic minorities. You understand me?
Yes.
And invariably, they're gone there for smoking ganja. 20% of our budget in Jamaica, our justice budget, across criminal justice and across national security, is taken up with ganja. A lot of people are suffering by still going to prison for ganja, and that needs to change. So, you know, it's a sort of complex mix. But the human rights perspective and the public health perspective and the education perspective must be balanced. You understand?
Okay, go ahead, Uncle Harris.
Donovan said something that, by the way, Donovan, you're sounding like a knowledgeable person. But there's something you said that bothered me. You said that a lot of people are being adversely affected, even to the point of death, because of the use of other substances, and far more than those that are affected by ganja.
Ganja, yeah.
Now,
The
but
statistic
here's the
is there.
problem. You talk about sugar and all kind of other substances.
Yeah, chemical dependency.
Right.
I've got a
Now,
diploma in chemical dependency.
Whereas close to 100% of people in this world use sugar in one way, shape, or form, only 2% use ganja in one way, shape, or form. So, you know, you will see a disproportionate comparative ratio that will not be a reasonable ratio to adopt. If you're going to talk about one versus the other, I don't think you be comparing apples with apples.
But look at alcohol. You understand? People are dying for liver damage in this country. When we did the research on cannabis, because I've done some research, and myself and Toby, a guy from Canada, which we can invite here, have done research on the experience of small farmers in Orangeville and across Jamaica. We realized that the problem, most of the small farmers are suffering from substance misuse. A lot of them are dying from liver damage from drinking. So ganja is not the problem is the drinking. You understand me? So there are two level understanding. There's a moral understanding of ganja that the Christian evangelical, you understand me, and the sort of justice-based push. And there's a research understanding that we who go out in the field and collect the data understand that alcohol is killing a lot of the small farmers. You understand me? They self-medicate with alcohol because, you know, they're working for bigger dealers who are not treating them nicely. Women are being so exploited in the industry. If a woman is seeing her period, she can't turn up for work to earn some money to send her kid to school. There are some underlying dynamics that involve in ganja that the government need to speak to. You understand me? But they don't want clever people to talk to them. You understand me? What they want to do is to continue to ignore the plight of the poor people involved in ganja and pander to the rich investor who come in. You understand me? You know, so at the local level, that's what's happening. But at the international level, you have big pharmaceutical company who know that medical marijuana is a kind of safe way painkiller when it compared to opiates. And they don't want to let the Southern Hemisphere into that market. You understand me? So there are a lot of underlying. I've deep dived into the research. You understand me? And I want to bring those discussions to bear and start a debate that is going to be sensible, that is going to both protect and benefit us at the same time.
Mr. Hessel?
Yeah.
We're live on YouTube and Facebook. We're listening, watching from around the world. Our topic this evening: should Jamaica fully legalize marijuana? We have with me Donovan Reynolds, Steve Hessel, former SSP Radcliffe Lewis, a good friend of mine, Sir Horace. Steve, what is your views on the whole idea of hear them saying that we have to be careful how we go ahead and legalize marijuana in Jamaica? You as a businessman, what is your views on it? And we want to see your face. We want to see half of your face, man.
Yes, boss.
There you go now.
I hear SSP Radcliffe Lewis say we have to be careful. We have to tread on serious waters. We know that if we legalize it tomorrow morning and give everybody, people are going to abuse it. Because we as Jamaicans, sometimes we do some various things. But I believe if the government say, okay, in every parish, I'm going to give X amount of people, small people and big people, mix it, and let everybody know that this is the road you have to walk. If you jump over this road, I'm going to take away your license. Give people rules and regulation. Number two, I believe we need some education drive we need to educate some people about it. What is the do's and the don'ts about it? And after we do all these things and then we legalize it, I believe it can work, because I know in America, the state they want legalize ganja is the richest state, all of them rich. Because a lot of them used to owe, and from them legalize ganja, them pay off all them debts. So I know if the government come out, not giving the rich man them alone and the poor man suffer. And don't say because it's a poor man alone used to suffer prison, imprisonment and all of these things. Cannot give a poor man them alone. Give it to a mixed multitude of people, and people must follow the guideline, and anybody who step over it, iron fist. Okay. Yes, Jeff.
I heard you. You know, we live in a society wherein we're faced with certain fundamentals or fundamental rules and regulations of our country that we have to abide by. What I don't understand and what I'm trying to understand is if you're granting a license, and maybe Mr. Reynolds can assist me on this one.
Yeah.
Why is it that the license to plant ganja in the land of wood and water, the country that the hippies, Mr. Reynolds can tell you, because Mr. Reynolds helped grow me in the grill. My father used to plant ganja, and I don't to say it. And I remember the days when the hippies used to come to Negril. When the 7 Mile beach of Negril is owned by family members. Mr. Reynolds Day can tell you, half of the 7 Mile beach is owned by my family. And still owned by some of my family. When hippies used to come to Jamaica, you have Golden Sunset Artist Beach, where they used to come out, my granduncles and grandfather used to come out of their house and give it to the hippies. And so now we have some hut out there. They sleep in the hut for days because they come down for the ganja fest. But what happened? They couldn't smoke it in the public because it wasn't legalized. And people all over the world know that the ganja in Jamaica is one of the best sensimilla known in the world.
Yeah, in the southern hemisphere.
There you go. So what I want to find out, why is it so hard for a small man to get a license? Why is it so expensive, Mr. Reynolds?
So government, you understand me, is pandering to capitalists. And I'm a member of the Labour Party, and I sort of hold no bounds in sort of beating them.
I can hardly see your face. The place is dark. You can turn on some light or something.
Yeah. So, sorry. They have not done well, you understand me, in terms of looking out for creating a social safety net for the small man. They have not done well in terms of the research to, because this thing, as you may well imagine, this discussion, all of us are really on one page, you understand me, in terms of we want Jamaica to benefit. We come from the various positions on the discussion. But the government could do better. Solution could create grants for women to get into the industry. You understand me? Because women are left out invariably in a lot of economic development across the world. And that's why aid agencies are interested in sort of putting money to put women on equal par. Yeah? The small farmers themselves, you understand me, need a grant. When the decriminalization took place, they should have given them free access to having licenses as a start for how they suffered in the industry. They should, like the Eastern Caribbean, give people grants to be able to sort of invest in the industry, to be a part of the industry. They can't sit on the side and say, look, we're not going. Westmoreland has become a hotbed for crime. You understand me? And that is why we're calling for a free zone era down here, a period down here where we can allow, when you look at the free zones concept, I did some research, you understand me, as part of my master's degree. I've got a master's degree, sorry, in diplomacy and global governance. And my research was how we can use sort of, how can we sort of increase foreign direct investment to Jamaica, and free zones are one of the way how to do it. And if we create a free zone that's why WACFA, our chairman, is calling from a free zone from somewhere in Negril Point over to Mangrove Hall, where we can develop it, you understand me, and attract 20. We have a document that we have written and spent during COVID. We were writing it on brown paper back, well-researched document on how we can attract, over 8 years, you understand me, $2.5 billion US dollars of new investment into this area, providing that the government give the farmers a break to recuperate, come in and regulate, come in and, bring research and development. You know that I've spoken to no more than about this year alone, while COVID was happening. 4 or 5 research students come down here for information from me about medical marijuana in general. They're interested in this region because in the southern hemisphere, I just said it a while ago, this geographical area grew pound for pound the best ganja in the world. And universities are sending their students down here to us at WAGFA. And not one, and I want Jamaica people to hear, not one student from the University of the West Indies have come down here about research or anything to do with ganja.
So hold on there, Mr. Reynolds, hold on a minute. You're saying to me that students from other countries has come down to Westmoreland, come down to Negril to meet
to research. To do research. I want to know about the plights of even small farmers. One of them I can introduce to this program.
And not one single student from the University of the West Indies nor UTech came and asked any question?
Not one. You understand me? Because you know what? We are very knowledgeable in the industry. You understand me? You must realize by now that we have done our groundwork.
Wow.
The COVID period when we stopped having public meeting, it gave us a chance to look at the research that's available and to sort of plan from a strategic point of view. I must say to people that I don't come to this, I come into it with an humble head, you understand me? Because criminal justice is my background. I've got a degree, an MSc. I went to the School of Global Governance, MSc in Diplomacy, Statecraft and Global Governance. When I took the research, and I want Jamaica to understand that I took the body of research that I did at one of the highest institutions here to JAMPRO. You understand? The lady in charge of marketing came down and looked at me, you understand me, like a delivery man and just cuffed me off, you understand me? So I came to Westmoreland.
Because you know why?
Didn't even look on the research.
You know why? And I will say it publicly and apologize to nobody. Hold on, Mr. Reynolds. You know why they look on you that way? You never have on no jacket, you never come in no Prado. Or in your Range Rover. And this is what is, no, we have classism in this country,
it is.
And racism in this country. But let's not go down. That's for a different topic.
I've applied for job over and over to the CLA because I'm knowledgeable and never ever even shortlist me. You understand me? This is what we don't use the best expertise that we have in this country.
Well, with all of this that is being said, I'm going to ask SSP Radcliffe Lewis a question now. SSP Lewis, unmute your mic for me. Then I go to Mr. Steve Hessel. Then I go to
yes, sir.
But before I come to you, SSP Lewis, let I go to Uncle Harris. Then I come to you. I'm gonna make you have the last word. But I'm gonna come off here, but the last word pertaining to the question I'm gonna ask. Uncle Harris, unmute your mic for me, please. Do you believe that anyone who was charged and imprisoned for ganja, do you think that the record should be expunged? Uncle Harris?
If at the time it was illegal.
I didn't hear you.
If at the time it was illegal and the law, like all other pieces of legislation, was promulgated, I would have a problem expunging their record. What I would more go for is a sort of amnesty, but I wouldn't necessarily, and there would have to be some modification to the system that they should not face any adverse consequences as a result of that particular charge. That conviction. But I don't know that it would be reasonable to expunge the record if at the time it was illegal.
Sir,
Okay, then. Do you want me to respond on that?
Hold on for Mr. Reynolds, because I know you're going to respond to it, because I think there is something within the law that they had amended that you're supposed to get an expulsion. Isn't that so?
Yeah.
Before you answer, remember you're going to say before you answer.
Not so.
Hold on, Sir Lewis. Mr. Hessel, what is your views on the whole idea?
Yeah, whole idea. I believe people who go to jail for it and then pay them consequence for it. I believe when them come out, I believe after 5 years, them supposed to get expunged, because like any normal crime you commit and you go to court and you pay your consequence. If them give you 3 months, 6 months, any amount of month them give you. When you come back out, them give you a limit of time to go and expunge it. So I believe if somebody 20 years ago found with 200 pounds of ganja and them go prison and them do them time in jail and them come back out, after a period of time, I believe the government supposed to expunge it, because them do them time in the government institution. So when them come back out now, we cannot have the same thing where them spend 6 years in jail and them come back out, they're going to have it over them head as a beating stick or a whip to say, no, you do this already. No, I believe when you go jail or prison, you go there to reform and come back out. So when you reform and come back out, them supposed to give you some time to expunge it and make you go free.
SSP Radcliffe Lewis.
Yes, I am. Listen, if the person was charged because it was for recreational purposes, then it can be expunged. But if it is preparing ganja for export and exporting ganja and trafficking ganja, and those crimes are very, very serious, then those charges must not be expunged.
So Reynolds, you were saying
so SSP have said something about that, you understand? So there's a general expungement sort of window of opportunity for people to be generally expunged from certain crimes in Jamaica, with the exception of murder, rape. One of the things regarding ganja specifically is that SSP Lewis just said it a while ago, that if you're charged for exporting ganja and it's an international or a federal crime, you understand?
Thank you very much, Mr. Reynolds. Thank you very much.
Now, the problem with that is that people like that, you understand me, are not able to sort of get back into gainful employment, or they can't even open. One of the things about some people who have got criminal records in the industry, they can't even open businesses. They can't take out loans, because 2 things in Jamaica: you have to have a clean record to borrow money from the bank. People who want to start, small farmers who want to start a business and they don't have the money to go through the process. It's not a very lengthy process, but it takes legal advice to sort of fill out a form, an expungement form. I've done a few of them for people free of cost. And they have got to go to Montego Bay from Westmoreland here, do a fingerprint, pay for the fingerprint, and then it goes away to Kingston, and they've got to wait a year. They might turn them down or they might grant it. And you have the eligibility criteria is either you're want to apply for a job, or you want to take out a loan. I think the eligibility criteria should be broader. When the decriminalization came in 2014, they should sort of expunge the record of those people who use it recreationally. You understand me? And get them into the fore. People can't, some of these people have got knowledge, you understand me, in terms of, and these knowledge are transferable. People want to change. Like if you want to transition people from illegal ganja into medical marijuana, they come with skill sets that needs to be used. And it can't be from a human rights perspective that somebody can't enter an industry and have a livelihood because of a past record. You understand me? It is too draconian. You know, and I'm speaking through the human rights side of my mouth.
Okay. I have with me this evening senior journalist, assistant senior journalist of Roots FM, Mr. Owen Brown. Owen, unmute your mic and give me your views on the whole expulsion of a person who was charged with ganja, and then in other words, they were locked up in Jamaican prison for ganja from what we killed Philip way before me and you born.
And convicted.
And convicted. But yet they're having a problem even obtaining a United States visa.
Yeah, visa. Yeah.
Owen?
Yes, good evening, everyone. Are you guys hearing me?
Yes, learn loud and clear, man, from Negril Point to Moran Point and all over the globe.
Okay, wonderful. Wow, so you're saying that the person was convicted, but and also got an expungement.
No, didn't.
Did not. Oh, they did not.
No, do you think they should get one?
And how long was the conviction?
The conviction was way before me and you born.
Wow.
And it time don't really matter.
The time no matter.
No, just the conviction, yes.
It's a justice issue.
Yeah. Because
they get conviction and you don't go to prison. They admonish and discharge, put you on probation. Sometimes you go to prison. So the time don't really matter. The conviction is what matter because your fingerprint is there. So the good journalist and the good moderator, Mr. Jeffrey, is asking, what is your perspective on that?
Wow.
What is your views on that, Owen?
Just give your honest opinion, Owen. Nothing is wrong with that. Your honest opinion.
Okay, well, I'm actually thinking about it. And if it is that they as you're saying, it's, as Jeffrey said, it's a long time, right? I think that they should be able to, because I would think that, you know, if it is a police record and all of that, I would think that if, say, per se, after 5 years, and it is that they've done whatever review to check to see if that there's no other conviction or stuff like that, and I think then it's really appropriate for them to go ahead and do a and that's the reason why I actually asked if it's recent. For me, I would say if it's after a certain years, then sure, the person should be able to go ahead, get the expungement, and actually get to continue with their life. If it is that the police are, so they're probably concerned, they can, you know, go ahead and do their research or interviews and investigate in the community and otherwise as to what the person is doing now and how they are doing. There are ways and means of getting information. And so I think they can use that to really move forward with the process. Because the thing is, having certain things on your record, I think that they can definitely have a, you know, an expungement. So it's for the relevant authorities to do their research or investigation and go ahead with the process. I would say no problem.
Uncle Harris, you have something to say?
Yes. When you spoke about the crimes for a ganja related crime, I wasn't thinking of the minor ganja related crime. You know, just like in the traffic court, you have serious offenses and you have minor offenses. In other words, there's dangerous driving and stuff like that that can send you to prison. I personally do not believe that a man caught smoking ganja or caught with an ounce over the legal amount should ever do time. And firstly, I also believe that such a man should never serve a custodial sentence.
Yeah, penalization.
I believe you give him a fine, that's a normal traffic fine. And if you don't pay it, him go sit down and let him pay it. But he shouldn't be given a custodial sentence. I believe where the law requires the export and the trafficking of ganja to be controlled, and you insist on breaching it to the detriment and of the society, it's another matter, and that should be handled differently. I still believe that the matter of expunging the record shouldn't just come automatically for something that is major. So I'm saying for minor offenses, minor ganja offenses, there should never ever be custodial sentences. And the fine or what you pay should be no different from a traffic fine. So you could go borrow money from the bank, you could do anything and you know get all the various benefits that a free citizen should have at common.
Yes, Uncle, you said
agreed,
that
agreed.
exporting and trafficking, you said it should be handled differently. When you
Yes.
said differently, be specific now. What you mean?
Well, okay, let me tell you something. There are all kind of legal substances, chemicals, explosives, and all those stuff in Jamaica that are controlled. You
we are
need
talking about ganja now.
No, I know. I
If we leave
can't.
that, yeah.
No, I'm talking about the concept.
Yeah.
They are controlled. Now you can handle them legally, but you don't have the right to import them without going through and getting certain permits. And if you are caught doing that, some of the penalties can be severe, you know. And I believe ganja is such a serious matter that it requires control. And if you want to breach the control, there should be legal consequences.
No, there are legal consequences, but you think that for trafficking, exporting, and preparing for export, the moderator is asking if you think that should be expunged. It is two things, either yes or no.
I don't believe those should be expunged automatically.
Thank you very much, sir.
I believe
Me and you
each
the same
matter
wavelength.
should be taken on its own merit.
Me and you the same wavelength.
Okay. You know, before because we're going to touch on another topic, and the topic is this: if a person who has a cannabis license or who is planting ganja take the money to go to the bank to open a bank account, they're having a problem.
Yeah.
But the scammers, the notorious scammers in this country, and some scammers in high places. Hold on, Mr. Lewis. Some scammers in high places.
That's nothing, boss.
Some scammers in high places and some scammers in the church can open bank account. But ganja people who want to open bank account in Jamaica, put a little chip and tape in it, having a problem. Mr. Hessel.
We're not able to open a bank account in Westmoreland Hemp and Ganja Association because of that.
Hold on there. I come
No
to you,
bank
Mr. Reynolds. You hold on a minute. Mr. Hessel, did I ask your views on the whole idea of expulsion?
I believe it's supposed to be a time frame. Because I know if you catch a man, I export a shipload of gun, there is a time frame to expunge his license.
His record.
So I don't understand.
There's a time to expunge his record.
Yes, expunge his record. So I don't know why ganja is more serious more than guns. You understand? Yes, you export ganja and them catch you, you're supposed to pay your consequence. But missing people, police catch them with gun and them thing there, and when them come out of jail 5 years time, them expunge them thing and them gone scot-free. We don't know why. So I believe it's supposed to be a time frame. If you say, okay, after 5 years or 10 years, a man who smoke a ganja when he was 18, one ganja cliff them hold him with him go jail, spend a 3 months, 6 months. When him come out after 5 years, them supposed to expunge his thing and him can get work anywhere and them thing there because him go and reform and come back out.
Owen?
So can I come in? Yeah.
Go ahead, Mr. Owen. Go ahead, Mr.
So it's a slippery slope, you understand me? And in law, yeah, some people are more equal than others, you understand me? So say, for example, I'm going to be very honest here. So when I
Go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
when I experimented with ganja, I did it from the confine of my mother's home, and she's a primary school principal, you understand me? So I wasn't exposed to being arrested, you understand me, or anything like that. I was able to sort of experiment and go through my rebellion, you know, while sort of going to a prominent high school in Jamaica. You understand me? Fast forward to somebody, you understand me, from the ghetto who is smoking on his veranda. You understand me? Get arrested. I wouldn't have been able to go abroad. I wouldn't have been able to work with the government. I wouldn't been able, you understand me, to achieve what I've achieved. I've gone all over the world, you understand me, studied at 7 different universities, live abroad. If I had a conviction for ganja, you understand me, it would have been very difficult for me. So some people get caught and some don't get caught, you understand? That's why we've got to be very careful about the human rights issue around, you know, people from the lower strata of society, you understand me, are more, you know, prone to be arrested for ganja than middle-class Jamaicans, and we know that, you understand me? So we've got to be careful and be sort of, you know, I bring that to the debate to show you that there are different dimensions of, you know, and that's why I believe in a liberal policy. But to add to that, you understand me, whatever you put into your body from a human rights perspective is you're responsible for that.
It is your fundamental right.
You know,
it is your
you can put alcohol in
fundamental
your
right.
body, but you can't put cannabis in your body. You understand?
There you go. Hold on a minute. It is your fundamental God-given right. If you want to smoke ganja, yes or no. It is also your fundamental right. If you want to take the vaccine, yes or no.
Yeah, yeah, sure, of course, yeah. So what, you know, what are we talking about? You understand me? About we want a liberal society that's free and just, that people on the margins of society. You understand me? I don't get checked when I go around. You understand what I mean? Because people, you understand me? You know, other people get checked, you understand me? And they get arrested, you understand me, for marijuana. We have to be very careful, and that's why I say we live in a very unequal society in Jamaica. And taking away this draconian law where somebody gets a, you know, charged for a spliff, can go abroad to join with their family and can't, you know, sort of, you know, enjoy the benefits of, you know, their humanity because of a draconian law. We're too justice-based in this country. You know, smoking ganja is a public health issue. I'm not for trivializing it. You understand me? It needs to be regulated. You understand me? But you shouldn't go to prison for it.
You know, Mr. Reynolds, you and I know two well-known businessmen in the girl.
Yeah, yeah.
Who was locked up in the 70s, 80s. And until now, they can't need a 7 or 11.
Yeah.
You know? And the own legitimate business, but they can't get certain things.
Yeah, they can't. You can't, first of all, you understand, you cannot, with the registrar of company, and time again, I've advised people who come to me, I see people suffering, can't open a legitimate business. I filled out a form for somebody, free of cost, you understand me, in Negril 2 days ago, an expungement form, because he said I can't open my bank account for my business because I've got this criminal record hanging over me. I cannot, you understand me, travel abroad. You understand? My daughter wants to file for me and I know that this is hanging and I need the expungement. You know, and I had to fill out the form for him, write an attaching letter, try to get, he got 2 justices of the peace and stuff like that. For, it might seem easy for us, but for somebody, it's oppressive, you know, especially when it's a small amount of ganja.
I am going to go to Uncle Horace next, but I have to say this. The company I visited Jamaica refused to give certain people license to open a business. But if a scammer come to open a business, they give them the license, the privilege to go open the business door. You know what's going on in this country? Uncle Horace, go ahead, sir.
Satarisha still on the line, but I touched something here on my picture gone, and I don't know what to touch to bring it back.
I'm the one who take off the picture because you're showing the viewers all sort of things, sir. I see what
you.
Go ahead, Uncle Horace. We're live on YouTube and Mr. SSP Lewis, so we have to be careful what we're doing.
Okay, sir. But I never do nothing illegal still.
I love this. SSP Lewis trying to clear his name. Let me say this to you. You mentioned something that I think needs clarification.
Probably I was fidgeting.
You, Mr. Host, you said something that concerned me. That is your fundamental right to choose what you put in your body. And I know I'm thinking, do you think you have the fundamental right to choose to take cyanide? Because cyanide can lead to suicide. And the suicide is against the law. So if you attempt suicide, you could find yourself in trouble.
And jail.
Hold on for me.
Well, that's a very severe position, you understand me? But shall I say this? Because I come from a liberal school and a liberal perspective. One of the reasons why, and I digress a little bit to say this, you understand me? I see a lot of people, and I've seen my mother suffer from cancer and wanting to die in the confine of her home, because at the time they didn't have opiate, the level of opiate or opiate pump where somebody could take, and she wanted to die and she couldn't die. And it is for that reason when I went to the UK, I signed up, you understand me, for euthanasia, that if I sort of reached to the point, you understand me, where I'm suffering like that, I could go off to Switzerland, yeah, and slip off, you understand me, without having to suffer from the pain, you understand me? So the liberal position spawned a lot of different scenarios. It spawned abortion, it spawned a lot of, you understand me? But we come to the understanding from a liberal perspective, and I know that they're different other perspective, and I respect them. You understand me? But we have rights, intrinsic rights as human being, inalienable rights, and we must be able, there must not be rights on book, we must be able to sort of access them to prevent suffering, to improve human conditions. So, you know, I've deep dived into it a bit, you understand? But that's just my perspective. On the Westmoreland Hemp and Ganja Association, there are different people with different perspectives. But we all have we're all on one page, just like us today. We all believe that ganja can better Jamaica, you understand me, financially. We all believe that people should be protected, you understand me, who use it. It should be used in a safe environment.
Mr. Reynolds.
You know, those are some of the touchstones that we share together.
Mr. Reynolds, before I go on the whole bank account issue, how much do you think the taxpayers or the government coffers could earn from the ganja industry in Jamaica?
I could say that safely about, you know, if we broaden the dragnet of tax intake, we could earn anywhere from 90 to 100 billion Jamaican dollars in tax revenue.
So
that's what I believe. We looked at the project, you understand me, and see that over a period of time, you understand me, we could over 8 years in Negril we could generate about 2.5 billion US dollars worth of investment as a result of opening up a ganja free zone area. We've knocked out you understand me, the numbers. We have a document on it. But so we're able to have a good estimate, you understand me? That if we open, you know, so they're not even going, there's spillover effects that come from producing ganja. You know, not only the people who work directly, but business people who accommodate people who come down to be sort of medicated to use, you know, to have a responsible holiday which is happening already. You understand me? So if we're really losing out big time. When you look at let's go over the numbers again with the US for those people who came late into the conversation.
Okay.
It's
Stick a pen.
2.5,
Remember what you're going to say.
$2.8
Hold on for me. Remember what you're going to say. Remember what you're going to say. Remember what you're going to say, please. It is now 7:24 in Kingston, Jamaica. 8:24 in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Where we're listening and watching from around the world and the Eastern Caribbean. This is a special edition of Make We Talk. I have with me the Communication Director of the Westmoreland Ganja Growers Association, former SSP Radcliffe Lewis, my good friend, Uncle Horace, journalist of Roots FM, Owen Brown, businessman, Mr. Steve Hessel. We're speaking about, should Jamaica fully legalize marijuana? And what can Jamaica gain from the legalization of ganja? Give me the weed, give me the weed, the fancy weed. Many of us knows about in Jamaica. The chairman was saying something to me about the figures. How much can Jamaica earn from the importation of ganja, from people getting the license and so forth? How much can the government get in their coffers for taxes? Go ahead, Mr. Reynolds.
So taxes, I believe easily, you understand me, $80 to $90 billion worth of new tax income will come in. I believe also that capital investment will rise. The document we look at, you understand me, within over 8-year period, we can, around just this geographical area, we could sort of attract $2.5 billion worth of investment. And that has got enormous spillover effect. When you look at the world cannabis market, you understand me, somewhere around $2.3 trillion. It's projected that by 2025, it's going to reach that. Year upon year across the globe, despite the industry discontent, cannabis is up in the USA, Canada, and the UK by 23%, even during COVID. So we're missing out. You understand me?
But don't we have a place in Jamaica where you can go and buy your marijuana and sit down and have a good smoke?
Yeah, tourists can come here. They're right across from where I am at the moment on the West End. You've got dispensaries where people can, but it needs, you understand, we need
it needs to be broadened.
So say, for example, on the West End, we're suffering from an urban blight, and you're familiar with this area. Tourism has been blown away from the cliffs. From the
entire western area.
Now they're coming to all-inclusive hotel. They're not coming out. If we were able to sort of have a free zone where people could come down, like the hippies who have been here, the generation of them and their family are still here, come down and sort of on the West End, come to a retreat and enjoy, you understand me, get their prescription, get their medication, you got edibles, use it responsible. Because people are there, people are coming down for that. You could attract loads and loads of money. As it stands now, you don't have one tourist. I haven't seen 1 or 5 tourists walk past on the West End where I live. You understand me, since today. And back in the days, in the 80s, the Aliconian day of tourism, people used to flock the West End of Negril. So we need, for regeneration for this geographic area, we need new thinking, you understand me, coming in where we can sort of benefit from. You can't go and tell the Arabs that they can't sell oil, you understand me, because of the pollution that it's causing. You understand me? You can't even go and tell the Americans not to sort of drill oil, you understand me, out of the earth. We have got
for far too long, Mr. Reynolds. Other countries has been dictating to Jamaica.
Yeah.
And telling the government or the powers maybe in Jamaica what to do and what not to do.
So we have to form new alliances as well, if you permit me. Yeah. So say, for example, CARICOM, instead of us talking to one voice, getting INBS, the International Narcotic Board, you understand, to shift gear, starting a debate in the UN, because we discussed that. We need a bigger voice, you understand? We need our government to support that. We need, the Caribbean need a regional representative on the INB, International Narcotic Board, and we need reform at the global level. A lot of NGOs, you know, need to look at, you know, because the debate that spawned ganja now, the controversy is, and the ethical dilemma is that, should we be penalized for this anymore? Should it be a public health issue? In America, for our listeners living abroad, you understand me, a lot of Black people invariably are going to prison because of because of recreational ganja. That must stop. Because, you understand me, as human beings across the world, we feel the pain of anybody. In the UK, disproportionately more Black people go to prison for ganja than white counterparts. You understand me? Stop and search. People are more stop and search and get arrested. You know, the International Narcotic Board challenged the UK when they downgraded cannabis. Yeah? They challenged Canada for its liberal policy on recreational ganja. We need a voice at the international table. You understand me?
You're saying to me now, Mr. Reynolds, because I have to go to SSP, Lewis, Owen Brown, Uncle Harris, and Sir Steve. You're saying to me now that at the moment, Jamaica doesn't have a voice at the international board when it comes down to...
The Caribbean hasn't got a voice there. Chile have got a voice there. Uruguay have got a voice. Every 5 years, they represent the board, elect people. I think of the 13 people who sit on the board, 10 of them, 3 of them come from the UN. You understand me? And the rest of them are sort of justice-based. When the organization, when the single convention on narcotic came about, it came on the back of a number of different treaties, you know, because international treaties bring together. And they sort of put the INB, the International Narcotic Board of Control, to administer that. It came in 1962, and 8 years later, it all administered by the UN. You understand me? But there are some draconian, you know, justice-based laws around it, you know. It's around the Federal Reserve. For example, now I think India, the person who is on it is headed by India, somebody from India, and they were head of an agency like the DEA equivalent to India.
What them know about
what
ganja?
type of policy you think is going to come out of there?
So what them know about ganja?
You see what I mean? So it's barely justice-based, and it's not looking at the full crumb. And we need reform.
We're going to change gear now. We're going to speak about how is it that you're saying to me that your organization can't open a bank account in the length and breadth of Westmoreland, or not even in Jamaica per se. So, what are you all doing? You being the communication director of the Westmoreland Ganja Growers Association, what you all doing in trying to open a bank account? Tell us some more about it.
I've got to proceed, you understand me? Cautiously, you understand, because I'm a legal person.
Tread cautious, of course, tread cautious, because you have to be careful.
So what we've got to do is to revamp the original, because we
have lost Mr. Reynolds, it seems like. Mr. Reynolds, we're having some internet issue with you. Mr. Reynolds, we have some internet issue with you, sir. We're having some internet issue with Mr. Donovan Reynolds of the... No. I'm having some internet issue with you, sir. Mr. Reynolds, unmute your mic. We have some internet issue with you. Unmute your mic for me. Your mic is muted. We're speaking to the communication director of the Westmoreland Ganja Growers Association, having some internet issues with him. He's speaking about a bank account. How can they having problem opening a bank account? We're going to ask him, our final discussion is about the lands. Why is it he can't get in the lands in Westmoreland to plant the ganja? In other words, to help other people down there that they can, end up planting the good thing that is good for the mind, soul, and body. Mr. Reynolds, unmute your mic for me, sir. Mr. Reynolds? I think I've lost him there. Hopefully I get him back. Uncle Horace, what is your views on the whole idea of they can't open a bank account because obviously they have a license, but they just can't open a bank account?
Them things wrong, Them things wrong. Everything is legal and you have a license. How can somebody explain a legitimate trader not being able to open a bank account? That can't be right.
I don't know, but something is not right somewhere. Mr. Reynolds, if you can hear me, sir, unmute your mic. We were losing you earlier on. You were speaking about the bank account of your organization, sir. We're having some technical difficulties with Mr. Reynolds. Mr. Lewis, you being a former SSP of the Jamaica Constabulary Force, SSP Radcliffe Lewis, unmute your mic for me. What is your views on them can't open a bank account, sir?
Well, it's just the policy that is put in force worldwide for persons who are involved in drugs activities, and this is to safeguard against money laundering, and the bank jolly well knows the penalty and the sanctions that will be applied if such business is carried through. So the banking persons, they have to seek legal advice and they have to have it properly checked out.
But hold on for me,
any
Radcliffe.
move can be made.
But hold on for me, Radcliffe.
And that is the purpose.
But
Yes,
Radcliffe, why is
Yes,
it
sir.
then? But why is it then that the government would give them a license then? Mr. Reynolds, unmute your mic. We're going to come to you next. Radcliffe, answer this question. Then if the government give them a license to plant ganja, what is it? Why is it having a problem in opening a bank account? Although I know the banking law act is different from whatever.
Yes. I would know that. It is for Mr. Reynolds now to take up that issue with the Ganja Licensing Authority Board and the banking system. And I don't know if Mr. Reynolds has done that. Have gotten any information. And has not divulged it to us.
He's back now. He's back now. So we're gonna ask him to unmute his mic and answer the question. So
Yes.
Mr. Reynolds, unmute your mic. Unmute your mic, Mr. Reynolds. I'm not hearing you. Yes, go ahead, Mr. Reynolds.
Now then.
Go ahead.
So you hear me now, yeah?
Yes, I'm hearing you now. Go ahead.
Okay then. So I was, sort of saying that Mr. Superintendent Lewis did really well in explaining what is happening internationally. It's due to the draconian, a combination of things, the draconian banking laws and the Money Laundering Act, and the category that Jamaica has found itself in due to the scamming and due to, so that mitigate against us. The other thing is that the banks, corresponding banks, you understand me? The banks in Jamaica are scared that their corresponding bank in the US, because we're not, this is not a Jamaican problem, the people in Colorado, all of them are having problems from state to state in terms of how their bank do their money, you understand me? Because the federal government in the United States have still not although states have legalized ganja at various levels, the federal government are still still not freed up ganja to a certain extent, and the banking community are scared to sort of do any, have any involvement with banks abroad because they don't want to lose their sort of banking status and they don't want to get sanctioned internationally. So they're scared about that. And the government, if you look at, because look at the Observer, as far back as 2 years ago, the government had promised to intervene and they have not shown any good leadership in terms of this. People have sought creative ways of dealing with it abroad. You understand me? So say, for example, there have been
hold on there. Do you mean this present government promised to intervene in it?
Yeah, but it's a difficult issue that they have to address at the level of the US government. You understand me? So there needs to be discussion at that level. You understand? Because they are the ones who are sort of preventing that from happening. I think there's something in the US, in the Senate now, a Safe Banking Act bill that needs to be voted on.
I'm having some technical difficulties again. Uncle Horace, you have something to say? Go ahead.
Well, I cannot imagine that. Let's look at the local side of it. We're talking about local interterritorial trading. You're in Jamaica and you want to trade within Jamaica. I can't see why a bank can stop a legally registered entity from opening an account. We have laws, and laws can't tread on laws. One has got to be ultra vires. You understand what I'm talking about? The bank cannot be so powerful that it's beyond the confines of the Jamaican law. There's a problem with that. And we cannot have a situation where our legal, our political representatives go and hug up leaders from other countries and all of that, while they are standing on the feet of the citizens of the country, legal citizens operating legal entities and are being sabotaged by other countries.
But Uncle Horace, this has been going on from time immemorial. Look at the whole banana industry, the whole coconut industry. That the American government come in and spray and things isn't good for us. And our banana industry gone to the dogs. So what do you expect? I see we're in Nikki or whatever her name. Unmute her mic. You have something to say, ma'am? Sir? Apparently not. We're faced with a problem in this country. We don't have enough time here. We're going to switch to the whole idea of lands. Mr. Reynolds, you were saying to me, Owen, you have something to say? Go ahead. Owen? Mr. Reynolds, unmute your mic, Mr. Reynolds. You're saying something?
So we lost an investor because we couldn't come up with a bank account to give that investor to put the money into.
Oh. So how is it? What I don't understand though, how is it that the government can give you a license to operate a business, but the business can't have a bank account? I don't understand. This is bloody nonsense.
It's a security risk for a lot of people who are in the medical marijuana industry. You understand? They've got to find creative ways. You understand me? And I've got to be careful. You understand me? How I use the turn of language, use it quite wisely. You understand me? They've got to have creative ways of banking. You understand me? Because it becomes a security risk.
Mr. Brown, you have something to say, sir?
I'm trying to chime in. I don't know. Hello? You hearing me?
Yeah, man, I'm hearing it loud and clear, man. Go ahead.
Okay, great. Right. I was saying if it is that based on the banking laws and what was mentioned earlier, that even in the US there is an issue in some states. I think it's a major problem then, because I was thinking that maybe it is then something probably with the government, or they can easily change something. But if it is that outside of Jamaica there is also an issue, then it's
Yeah.
gonna be really challenging to actually overcome this hurdle.
Yeah.
I think then if it is that Jamaica, what Jamaica can do, if it is that Jamaica and they do have the interest in getting this industry up and running and being the industry that would that would actually help the economy, they should come on board and see how best they can have a voice, to
Yeah,
speak
sure.
to whether international organizations in getting Jamaica to the point where it should be. I know they're
In
looking on,
CARICOM,
right, CARICOM and
raise
otherwise.
it at the CARICOM level.
Yes, yes. So the thing is then is to get all the players in the market here to really, to some extent, have a voice to the government in order for the government to understand the severity of the issue. And then from there on, then moving forward to the Caribbean, to CARICOM rather, and having that voice when it comes down to internationally in getting this law changed. Because without this, the change, it's
Yeah.
gonna actually continue. So
I'm
there
trying
needs
to
to
get
be
a
some,
representative
yes.
from CARICOM, if you allow me to come in, on the
Go ahead.
International Narcotic Board, you understand me, to change the thinking way up there. And representations within the UN itself when they open for their sort of.
But in Jamaica, how is it that your group is the only group that's kind of challenging the
Owen,
government
Owen,
having
can
a
you repeat
voice?
it for me because I'm not hearing you, Owen?
Yeah, are you hearing me any better now?
Yes.
Yes, I was asking if his group was the only group kind of challenging or putting forward any kind of arrangement with the government. Are there other marijuana groups or legal marijuana groups that are putting together their voice, kind of
Well,
casting
well,
or
we were
saying,
one of the first group that organized ourselves, the Westmoreland Hemp and Ganja Grower, organize ourselves. We're perhaps the second one in the island, but we have,
yeah,
as you may well imagine, we've got a broad remit. We are interested in the socio-cultural aspect as it affects our small farmers and women. We are interested at the level, we're involved at the level of research. We're involved at the level of wanting to have a business and to get farmers transitioning from recreational ganja into medical. We represent 350 farmers in the area, and we try to do it as robust as possible. COVID didn't allow us to do that because we weren't able to have public meetings and stuff like that. But we have started, it gave us a period of time where we could sit down and sort of refine our documents, our research documents. And we are the only group in here talking to people coming from different universities, coming out here to research about this very, because they are very, very interested in, they know that we have the best product in the southern hemisphere. It's up there with Colorado, and we have some best practice as well that we want to share. We have indigenous species that we want to protect as well, to register and protect. And we want to protect the Orange Hill brand because it's internationally famous.
Yeah, and that's the thing, if it is that Jamaica we have, you're saying one of the best hemp, right? Then I think we should definitely be or have a voice then, to say, guess what? We want to ensure that this will not just benefit, the local, but the country in general, because this industry is a huge industry, and we've seen that it has benefited a number of states and countries. And I think it's about time for us. There was to some extent a small move as to the legality of the amount that you can walk with. That's one little move, but there needs to be more major move in getting this industry, where it should be. We know that we saw an article some time ago. I think it was with a legal business, but they're saying to some extent that the license was up and they actually took out all of their ganja and all of that. It was a big thing on the television. And I'm saying if it with things like that, we're seeing that to some extent there is not what you can say now, a help then per se from the government, or the government is not putting in enough energy and effort in getting this on the industry that can actually help them. And I think that's where, you know, the energy should be, in getting the government on the same wavelength. To say, guess what? All right, we're gonna take this industry from where it is and have great representation, not just in Jamaica but outside, for farmers, persons who are, you know, legal in, you know, this hemp industry, to have a voice, to get, because once there is action, then we know that, you know, you guys can get your accounts, you guys can get all the things you know, in order. So I think it starts from a movement. It starts from a movement in getting the government a part of it.
We are capable people, you understand? We've gone to do in a lot of research, and we want to help our small farmers. We want to create a social safety net for them where they're not abused. By the same token, we want to know that if our young people are using recreational marijuana, they use it in a safe environment. If they have to use it, you understand me? They know and they have all the information to keep them safe, and to look at how our mental health service and the National Council on Drug Abuse can come in and support the industry, you know, and make it a safe place.
Okay.
Mr. Reynolds, I heard you, another person speaking about the involvement of the United Nations in as it relates to assist with that with the banks because of the refusal of them to do business with persons who have been convicted of drug involvement, or persons who are suspected of being involved because of intelligence. You have to be reminded that our government cannot do nothing. United Nations cannot do nothing about it. It is something that, because it's something that I have been following since 1984. You know, it is something that went through Congress, the United States Congress, and passed through Senate, as it relates to what we are speaking about here now, and to protect the country from money laundering. So it is not an easy job for the government to get up and go.
So
talk.
can I come in? Can I add something?
What you, Mr. Reynolds, will have to do is to go back to the drawing board and have some meaningful discussion. That is what have to happen, you know.
Okay, then. So shall I say something, yeah? Because I'm a trained diplomat as well. Perhaps, you know, one of three of us in the Caribbean who have an academic degree in diplomacy, yeah? So every September, the UN...
You did practice it, Mr. Reynolds?
No.
Because to train is one thing, you know, but to practice is a different thing.
I understand how it works. You understand me? I've worked in Brussels privately, and I understand how it works. I'm just going to say it to you for you to understand. ABC, at the opening of every September when the UN convention open, heads of government all over get the opportunity, especially our sort of foreign affairs minister get the opportunity, or our head of government get the opportunity to speak. When we get those opportunities, we have to put a word in on behalf, you understand me, of our best interest, economic interests, I do believe. So that's one road. The other road is to work organizations like myself to sort of dovetail with other organizations across the Caribbean, because sometimes people don't listen to government, they listen to sort of small non-governmental organization, you know, to raise it at that level. And the other one for our parliamentarians to take our economic position to parliament and have it debated, you understand me, and have it pushed higher up the agenda, the sort of international agenda.
Okay. I have Uncle Harris have his hand up. We're going to switch the conversation to one final topic, lands. Uncle Harris, go ahead. Uncle Harris, are you there? Well, we're going to switch the conversation to lands. Mr. Reynolds, you're saying to me... Oh, go ahead, Uncle Harris.
No, I think my hand was up by accident.
Okay. You're saying to me that I think you had discussed this before, but I want to get back to the whole land issue. You're saying to me that you all are having problems in acquiring lands to distribute to end up planting some ganja between.
Yeah, to do the pilot project, you understand me? We want the pilot project because what it will bring is new training to grow medical marijuana is way different from recreational ganja. Ganja is a very delicate baby, and we need training from the Ministry of support from cross-agency support from the Ministry of Agriculture, the Land Agency. We need all of them to come together and cut through the bureaucracy. We need for government also not to change policy midway. When you have a minister come, a new minister, he's got a new idea of how the industry. The thinking must come. We must go back to the stage where the thinking come from bottom up, because you may well imagine that we know what we are talking about down here. Jeffrey, you know that we know about planting ganja. You understand me?
Oh, yes.
So the government have got to listen to us. You understand me? We are the experts. You understand me? We know the condition. We know the local condition. You understand me? And we're getting into the science of it. You know, so they must listen to us rather than throw down policy and change midstream. They must find land and give to us. You understand me? They must do things, you understand me, to facilitate an economic, social safety net for the poor people of Westmoreland. There is a correspondence between crime and poverty. And we need to sort of be tough on crime, but we need also to be tough on the cause of crime. And I'm not making any argument, you understand me, for people. People should behave themselves, but the government should recognize that there is a correlation between that and help people to achieve their goals. For many years, you know that, Jeffrey, ganja, there's no open secret that ganja have educated some of our best Jamaicans, judges, lawyers, all from Westmoreland, and we're being very hypocritical about it. Even policemen.
Oh yes.
We have about 4 minutes or so leave, and they got their landing them. Let me just come in say something quick, Miss and the landing. And Mr. Reynolds, certainly his organization will have to consult with government on a more serious issue for his proposal and ideas and goals to really materialize as it relates to the land issue. I don't think government based this thing, the ganja business, have a lot of connotations. And government is not going to just get up and give you land, Mr. Reynolds, our land to persons to plant ganja. Something that can go otherwise. Because
they
if it
are
go
sponsoring
otherwise,
the pilot project.
If it go otherwise, yes, they will sponsor a pilot project, and this pilot project is under supervision, under control, and direct supervision. But after you give a lot of 1,000 or 10,000 people lands, flatter lands to plant ganja or to cultivate, not to plant, to cultivate ganja.
Okay, so one stop there, Mr. Lewis. Let me clarify something. It's just for the pilot project. The pilot project that they will learn how to learn best practice around cultivated medical.
But hold on a minute. Hold on a minute there. Hold on a minute there, gentlemen. What I don't understand, and I fail to understand certain things, is that if a government can get up and give a foreign entity swap lands to build highway, why is it that they can't give people lands to plant? They swap lands to build highway, yet the people of this country have no lands to build their houses. The people of this country is suffering when it comes down to housing industry. They're building more roads and more carpet more than anything else. So if a group of Jamaicans need lands to plant to cultivate some good herb, it should not be a problem. Yes, and that's what Mr. Lewis is saying, you know. We haven't legalized the thing as yet. We're having problems in the sense of, you know, you opening a bank account, because I can't fathom how is it that you can give a license to individuals, But the license that individuals get, their company can't open a bank account in this country. It makes no sense because of what? There are certain banking acts that we have to go by internationally within the United States and within Jamaica. I agree with that. But how on earth can you say to the people that you give the license to, when they make the money, where should they put the money? Under the mattress?
And to add to it, why can't we get land? Why can't, if it's good for people in the Eastern Caribbean, it must be good for us. You know, they've got land, they've got grants, they've got.
And if it's good, hold on, Mr. Reynolds. If it's good for them to swap the highways and give prime lands to the Chinese, why is it they can't give lands to the Jamaican people?
Well, that is a development that is
Mr. Lewis, don't chat nonsense to me.
That is a development that is recognized worldwide. The swap land to build roads, but to give land to plant ganja, is something that has to be carefully sorted out. It's not it's not a fly night or a Nicodemus thing, you know. Host.
But Mr. Lewis, hold on a minute. Hold on a minute, Mr. Lewis.
Yes, sir. I hear you about.
Is it that the government don't see that if we do certain things with the ganja industry in this country, the country can come out of the debt that the country is in? Is it that the government, hold on, Mr. Lewis, is it that the government refuse to see that the great powers may be who used to burn the ganjas in Jamaica, certain of their states have legalized it and they have got rid of their debt that they're in? California did, other states did. So why is it that the powers may be in this country continue to put a blind eye towards certain things in this country? They can give the Chinese lands to swap the road to get lands when the Jamaican people have nowhere to build their houses, they have nowhere to cultivate their ganjas, they have nowhere to cultivate their foods. But other nationalities who come here by aeroplane, we come here by labor pain, and we can't get in the land in this country.
Yeah, you can't get land. When you capture land, them are formalize it now. But to give you land, as I say, to plant, to cultivate ganja, it has connotations. And the same amount of money that Mr. Reynolds spoke about, the 90 billion and the 100 billion, those US dollars is coming from US, Canada, and UK. And if they don't sanction it, we cannot get that $100 billion.
But hold on, Mr. Lewis, as you talk about that, Mr. Lewis, do you know how much money the government of Jamaica collect to fight crime in this country, yet the crime is out of work in this country? Yet the police forces in this country don't have a proper vehicle to drive? Yet the police forces in this country hardly get in the pay?
Them get vehicle to an mash up it.
Listen to me, stop your damn nonsense because you're labor right. I'm afraid to say that now. Stop it, man.
No, man, no. You know why you divulge. You know why you divulge my political affiliation, so Sir Tavares.
Everybody knows how me stand. My name Tavares. Everybody knows how me stand.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, Mr. Uncle Harris. Go ahead, and then Steve.
Yes, sir.
Hold on, Steve. Uncle Harris, go ahead.
Jeffrey, me I go left here, you know.
Yeah, we're gonna wrap up now because I've got.
We're gonna hold on a minute, gentlemen. Hold on a minute. Hold on a minute.
All right, boss.
I am the moderator for this program. Hold on a minute.
We've had a good discussion.
Hold on a minute. Radcliffe, you run things at JUTC, me run things here, so now hold on a minute.
When me I say no, man, me I beg a little chance, so me I go leave, boss. So
you're not going yet. You hold on a minute. I don't feel.
Right, me hold on, man. I will hold on.
Uncle Harris, go ahead, sir. Well, Uncle, Sir Steve, go ahead. Your final word, Steve.
All right, Jeffrey. Yes, me just hear Radcliffe say something, and I will believe that is true. We know that the government give a lot of police unit, but some of the police them keep here them yard, some don't look woman, some mash it up, some use to run a taxi. So all station must have unit.
Then if listen to me, hello, that's for another program. That's for another program.
Yes, not a program.
But Radcliffe said them get it and them abuse.
Right, but that's for another program. Your final word on the whole legalization of ganja in Jamaica. We're gonna wrap up now and come off here.
All right, my final word I believe the government's supposed to think about it very hard and see where it does and it don't. And I believe it's full time the government can come up with some package and make people enjoy it. Same like how US can enjoy it. I believe we in the Caribbean can enjoy some things out of it. But true, it have to go through this whole red tape and blue tape and white tape. So
no, two tape, the orange and the green tape. Say it. Go ahead.
And we hoping that sometime next year or other year we can hear about it legalized and people can really enjoy their money worth.
Owen?
Yes, boss.
Owen, your final word, Owen Brown? Owen? Okay, I'm not hearing
still
Owen.
here. You want me to go to dive in?
Yes, hold on, Mr. Reynolds. Uncle Harris, go ahead. Your final word, then I can give Mr. Reynolds his final word.
I have a problem when the product become politicized. I have a problem with that. And I'm not just talking about local politics. I'm talking about cross-border politics too. There are all kind of dangerous stuff out there. It's illegal. And if you legalize anything, legalize it. If you're not, you're not. We can't be playing politics or making a football out of something that is legitimate. I have a problem with that.
Thank you. Mr. The Honorable SSP Radcliffe Lewis, your final word, sir.
My final word in a second is that the Westmoreland Ganja Association, they have a lot of work to do. It is not that easy as they think.
Mr. Reynolds, your final word, sir.
So thank everybody for lively debate. You understand me? And one of the things that I positive that I take away from this is that we want a better industry. We want a better both recreationally and for medical marijuana, one that benefit the country, and one that create a social safety net for small farmers that we represent in Westmoreland here. We want to take the government to task for sitting on their tardiness around proscribing and providing leadership in the Caribbean around sort of the liberalization of ganja. You understand? There's enormous amounts of money to be made that could better the economy. By the same token, we want to do it in a space that's safe for recreational users and medical marijuana. We want good standards, not draconian standards, but good standards and good public education around the issue. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for allowing me the oxygen.
Thank you. Owen, your final word before we wrap up, Owen Brown, if you're hearing me. Your mic is on, I'm not hearing you at all, Owen.
Good moderation, Mr. Tavares. Good moderation.
Thank you, sir. You did well.
Yes, I'm hearing you now. Go ahead.
Okay, great. Yes. I was saying that it was a good discussion, and as Sir Lewis said, a lot of work is ahead, and I agree with that. And so all the best. We're hoping that, as I'm saying, at least there should be some greater action and from the government towards ensuring that we have we'll call it now a thriving ganja or cannabis or weed industry. It's needed, and it's about time for us to really do something about it and get the billions, as was mentioned, in our economy, because there is really great earning potential from it, and we need to do something about it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have with me former SSP Radcliffe Lewis, Donovan Reynolds, the chairman of the communication director of the Westmoreland Ganja Growers Association, Mr. Steve Hessel, well-known businessman, outspoken taxi driver, a former PRO for the Jatu Taxi Group, Uncle Harris, a good friend of mine from Twitter, my good friend, my brother Owen Brown from Roots 96.1 FM. This Tuesday, I'll be live on Roots 96.1 FM with the mayor of Portmore. We're going to speak about the development of Portmore, what is being done for the taxis in Portmore. One of these days, I'm going to have outspoken SSP Radcliffe Lewis on my Make We Talk show on Roots FM to speak about his years in the police force and also within the transport sector. This was a lively discussion this evening. I'm asking everyone on my YouTube channel, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'm asking you, please subscribe, please share this channel to your friends and family, and please subscribe to it. This evening has been a great evening. I'm from Negril. I'm from Westmoreland. I'm a Westmoreland. I grew up in Negril. I grew up in the hands of Donovan Reynolds. I grew up in the hands of the late custard of the parish of Westmoreland, my father, Jim Thompson. I am a Tavares. My father, Bernard Tavares, used to plant ganja. My family is not a ganja family, but Westmoreland people know about planting ganja. And there's two well-known businessmen in Negril who I know who helped raise me in Negril, who has been locked up for ganja, and they're out now. But they're having problems in traveling. And we believe that if you're gonna legalize ganja, people's names should be expelled from the crime that they may have committed. If you have the big men name that the name getting off at certain things, why can't the small man name get off of it too? And if the government is giving lands to the Chinese for road, why can't you give lands to the people of this country who need to build houses, who need to do some development within the country? Give them the lands. Give the Westmoreland Ganja Growers Association the lands to plant ganja, to do things that they need to do, because there's a lot of wastelands in Negril. You have the Karam Joseph land, you have the Whitehall housing land development that is down there. It's been wasted, although they're building some housing scheme on it, although one government give it to their friends and cronies. But let's not get into that part. Next week, Sunday, we're going to speak about the crime situation in Westmoreland. I'm supposed to have the superintendent of police for Westmoreland to come on my program. Let's hope I'm going to get him. We're going to speak about the crime situation in Negril. We're also going to speak about the tourism industry in Negril. We're going to get some people from the western strip of Negril to speak about the tourism industry in Negril. What is going on in Negril? Why is it that Negril has been the breadbasket of tourism in this country? And successful government just dash with Negril. Negril has some members of parliament who don't visit Negril. Let's not get into that part. But this is where I say so long from here. Thank you all very much for watching. Thank you all very much for subscribing to my channel. Thank you all very much for coming on. And I believe that ganja should be legalized in this country. It can help the economy. It can help, I tell you something, between ganja, merengue, dark bush, and all kind of bush that we have in this country. One of these days, who knows, if they really come together, maybe it can even cure AIDS and other things. But of course, it's a black man who doing it, so anyway, let's not get into that part. I must say thanks to Mr. Steve Hessel, thanks to Donovan Reynolds, former SSP Radcliffe Lewis, Uncle Harris, Owen Brown. I am Jeffrey Tavares saying thank you all for listening this evening to a very special edition of Make We Talk. Until you hear my voice again, may God bless you. And may God bless Jamaica land we love. Subscribe to this YouTube channel. Thank you all very much.
Okay, thanks. Same to you, sir. All the best.
Yeah, thank you very much for being so kind.
Thanks.
Thank you.